Okay, so now you'll see a schedule titled Lola's Evening Schedule. But this is not her schedule from the listening activity we just did. It's a different schedule. So use that schedule to complete the sentences. And again, make sure you use the correct verb forms. Okay, so pause the video when you see the exercise and continue when you're finished.
Okay, so let's look at your sentences. Number 1, after Lola goes to the supermarket, she meets the children. After Lola goes to the supermarket, she meets the children. And then number 2, before Lola starts preparing dinner, she meets the children. So you can see that she meets the children first, and then she starts preparing dinner. So starts preparing dinner is the second activity. That's why we include it with the before clause. So again, before Lola starts preparing dinner, she meets the children. And then number 3, after Lola meets the children, she starts preparing dinner. So this sentence is the same meaning as number 2, but we are just saying it in a different way. Number 4, Lola cleans the kitchen after she eats dinner. And number 5, Lola cleans the kitchen before she leaves for class.
Okay, now you will see some scrambled sentences. Scrambled means mixed up. So the first sentence is already numbered for you, so you just need to put the rest of the sentences in order. Okay?
Okay? Oscar Smith has a problem with time management. For example, Oscar always wakes up at 8:30 a.m. every weekday. But Oscar has to be at work at 8:30 Monday through Friday. So he jumps out of bed and gets dressed quickly. After he gets dressed, he runs to the bus stop. Because he is late, he has to wait 10 minutes before the bus arrives. Before he gets off the bus, Oscar practices what he will say to his boss. After Oscar gets off the bus, he runs to his workplace and hopes his boss isn't angry. But yesterday was different. Oscar ran to his workplace as usual, but the door was locked. It was Sunday. Oscar's workplace is closed on Sunday. Before he goes back home today, Oscar plans to buy a calendar. Okay, so this story is a little bit humorous or a little bit funny, but I hope that you were able to put those sentences in the correct order.
Okay, so now we are going to practice some reading. After you read the passage, you'll see some statements that are true or false. Circle yes if it is true and no if it is false, and then change the false statements to make them true.
Okay, so I'm going to read the journal entry and I want you to follow along, and then we'll look at the sentences together. My son Stanley is only 12 years old, but he has already learned to manage his time well. Every Sunday, he makes a to-do list. He writes deadlines in his calendar. During the week, he does all his chores before he starts his homework. He puts the dishes away, takes out the trash, and helps Megan, his little sister, with her homework. After he helps Megan, he works on his homework. He doesn't procrastinate. When a project is due on Friday, he tries to finish it on Wednesday or Thursday. He gets all his work done before he watches any TV. I am very different from Stanley. I don't prioritize well. I really need to learn some time management skills from my son. Parents can learn a lot from their children too. Okay, so number 1, before the week begins, Stanley writes deadlines in his calendar. So that is true, so you can circle yes. Number 2, he does his chores after he starts his homework. And this is not true. He does his chores before he starts his homework. Or you can also say, he starts his homework after he does his chores. Number 3, before he does his homework, he helps Megan. And this is true. Okay? And then number 4, he usually starts a project when it is due. This is not true. So we can say, he usually starts a project before it is due. Or you can take out usually. You can say, he starts a project before it is due. Or you can also say, he tries to finish a project before it is due. And then number 5, when he has done all his work, he watches TV. And that is true.
Okay, now you're going to see a pie chart that shows how Susan Sample spent time yesterday. You'll hear some questions and I want you to answer them as you watch the video. So this time you do not need to pause the video. Just keep playing it and you can state the answers verbally or you can write them down.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions based on this pie chart. And keep in mind that this is yesterday's schedule, so you need to use past tense. And also make complete sentences. Okay, number 1. How many hours or how much time did Susan spend exercising? We can also say, how long did Susan exercise? But since all of the activities are in gerund form, we can use spend as the verb. So one more time. How many hours did Susan spend exercising? Okay, so we can say, she spent 1 hour exercising, or she exercised for 1 hour. Okay, number 2, how much time did Susan spend eating? How much time did Susan spend eating? Okay, so we can say, she spent 2 hours eating. She spent 2 hours eating. And then number 3, which activity did Susan spend more time doing, relaxing or doing chores? Which activity did Susan spend more time doing, relaxing or doing chores? Okay, so we can say, she spent more time doing chores. Or we can also include the word than, which is a comparing word. So we can say, she spent more time doing chores than relaxing. So THAN. She spent more time doing chores than relaxing. Number 4. This time I want you to make a question using most. So of course the answer is working because she spent 5 hours working. So again, make a question using most. And the answer is working. Okay, so you can say, which activity did she spend the most time doing? Which activity did she spend the most time doing? You can also say, what did she spend the most time doing? And then number 5, I want you to answer the question you just made in number 4. So you made a question for number 4, and I want you to answer it in a complete sentence. Of course, the answer is working, but I want you to make a complete sentence. Okay, and the answer is, she spent the most time working. She spent the most time working.
Okay, so now we are going to practice asking and answering the same things about our schedule from yesterday. You can talk with a family member or practice on your own. But for the question about visiting friends, you can change it to meeting with friends online, because obviously right now we can't physically meet with our friends. And for homework, you can send me your answers. If you want, you can make sentences about your family members. For example, yesterday my daughter spent 2 hours meeting with her friends online. So the sentences can be about you or your family members. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson. So I will see you for Unit 7 next time.